All right, let's dive in. There's this massive, and it's often pretty silent revolution happening, right in our pockets. It's fundamentally changing how we deal with money every single day.
Uh-huh.
And the real question isn't really if our habits are changing, but like how fast? And what does it actually mean for you?
Exactly. Speed and impact.
So today, we're doing a deep dive into the global mobile banking market. And this isn't just about downloading another app.
No, far from it.
It's a really profound digital transformation.
Hmm.
It's redefining how individuals and businesses all over the world get access to financial services, paying bills, getting loans, you name it.
And when you say transformation, the scale is just, well, it's genuinely staggering.
Oh,
If
yeah.
you look at the data from Cognitive Market Research, this global market, it was valued around $872 million back in 2021.
872 million. Got it.
And just to be clear, when we talk market value, we mean the total revenue generated by these mobile banking platforms and, the services they offer.
Right, the money they're making.
Yeah, exactly. Now, brace yourself. It's projected to more than double over $1.5 billion by 2025.
Wow. In just a few years.
And then it really takes off. It's forecast to hit an astonishing $4.9 billion by 2033.
4.9 billion.
Yeah.
That's huge.
It is. And that translates to a compound annual growth rate, or CAGR, of over 15% year after year.
15% growth
Yeah.
consistently.
Okay.
So our mission then, for you listening, is to really pull out the essential insights from this incredible growth story.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to uncover not just how big it's getting, but crucially, where is that growth happening most intensely? What specific things are actually fueling this massive digital shift?
And what it means for your finances.
Exactly. What's the profound impact on your financial world? So let's start maybe with North America.
Good place to start. A major player.
Right. It contributed, close to $350 million to the global market in 2021?
That's the number, yeah. Around $350 million.
And the path forward looks incredibly clear there. It's expected to grow to over $600 million by 2025, then surge to nearly $1.9 billion by 2033. Still maintaining that strong CDR, around 15%.
That's right. Very consistent growth.
But what's the story behind those numbers? Like, what makes North America such a robust leader here?
That's a really great question because it's not just about the raw size. Inside North America, the U.S. is definitely leading the charge, projected to hit over $1.4 billion itself by 2033.
So, U.S. dominates.
But what's fascinating, I think, is how Canada and Mexico are actually showing slightly higher growth rates, both over 15.5%.
Oh, interesting. Faster growth in Canada and Mexico. Why?
Well, it tells us a couple of things. In mature markets like the U.S., it's probably more about, existing digital adoption, convenience factors.
Makes sense. People are already online.
Right. But in places like Canada and Mexico, we're seeing maybe a more rapid uptake as fintech innovations and just more smartphones get out there. It makes mobile banking super accessible for, new parts of the population.
So it's meeting a rising demand.
A surging demand, really, for accessible financial services.
That makes perfect sense. Okay, so from those really developed markets, let's jump across the Atlantic. Europe.
Europe, right.
The market there was around, $250 million in 2021?
About that, yes. $250 million.
And it's expected to climb over $1.3 billion by 2033. Also a solid 15% CAGR.
Very solid, yes. Consistent with the global trend.
But Europe is so diverse, right? You've got all these different countries. What are the kind of distinct trends showing up there?
Yeah, and the pace is really varied, which is noteworthy. You have countries like the UK, Germany, Russia, all showing very strong, consistent growth. Standard stuff, almost.
Okay, big economies, big growth.
But then places like France and Italy, they're actually experiencing even faster acceleration.
Faster than Germany or the UK?
Seems so. And maybe surprisingly, the category Cognitive Market Research calls Rest of Europe is actually outpacing them all, growing at nearly 17%.
Wow, 17% for the rest of Europe. What does that point to?
Well, it suggests it's not just the big banks digitizing, right? It points to a very broad, widespread embrace of mobile banking across the continent.
Okay.
Probably driven by strong regulatory support, for digital finance, plus high levels of digital literacy among people.
So it's just convenient for everyone, city dwellers, rural areas.
Exactly. Convenience across the board.
Okay, now, if we're talking high growth regions,
Mhm.
Asia Pacific, that really stands out. Looks like a dynamic engine.
Oh, absolutely. Dynamic is the word.
This market is set to basically explode
Mhm.
from around $160 million in 2021.
A smaller base initially.
Right, smaller base, but growing to over $1 billion by 2033. That's an incredible CAGR, 16.8%.
Almost 17%. Yeah, it's huge.
That's a massive leap. What is driving that kind of phenomenal expansion in such a varied region economically?
Yeah, this is where we see that interplay of the key drivers really powerfully. You've got countries like China and Japan, huge contributors, strong double-digit growth, predictable maybe.
Right, the giants.
But the real story, I think, is India. It's emerging as the fastest growing market globally, recording almost an 18% CAGR.
18%. In India.
Mhm.
That's not just growth. That sounds like a financial revolution, like you said.
It really is. Think about the sheer scale of smartphone penetration there now. Combine that with government initiatives really pushing digital payments.
Okay.
For millions and millions of people, mobile banking isn't just another option. It's often the first truly accessible financial service they've ever had.
Wow. So they're leapfrogging traditional banks entirely.
Completely, just jumping straight to mobile.
Right.
And then you also have smaller but incredibly agile markets like Singapore and Southeast Asia more broadly.
Yeah.
They're leading with even higher growth rates sometimes, driven by really cutting-edge fintech innovation and very tech-savvy populations.
That's truly fascinating, watching whole populations basically come online financially just through their phones.
It's transformative.
Okay, moving south then, South America.
Mm.
The market there shows equally compelling growth, doesn't it?
It does indeed. Very strong numbers.
Starting from around $60 million in 2021,
Yeah, smaller again, but look at the growth.
growing to over $365 million by 2033. And a very high CAGR again, 16.6%.
Extremely high, yes.
Brazil's a leader there, but it looks like Argentina and Colombia are right behind, both showing CAGRs well over 17%.
That's right on. Brazil leads in volume, but Argentina and Colombia are growing incredibly fast. It suggests rapid acceleration across the whole continent.
So what does that rapid adoption tell us?
Well, even though the overall market size is smaller compared to, say, North America or Asia, the rate of adoption is incredibly strong.
Okay.
It points to a pretty significant shift in consumer behavior. More people getting smartphones, fintech companies offering, localized, easy-to-use services. It's often driven by a need for efficiency, maybe cost-effective options compared to traditional banks. It's really changing how people manage their daily money.
A profound change, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, sweeping across the globe now.
Mm-hmm.
The Middle East, also showing substantial growth.
Yep. Definitely part of the picture. Projected to reach over $150 million by 2033. The CAGR is a bit lower, closer to 14%, but still very solid.
Okay, nearly 14%. And countries like Saudi Arabia, the UAE,
Yeah.
they're key players.
Yes. Their growth is quite notable. Saudi Arabia, for instance, shows a really significant jump in market value over the period.
And what's driving it there?
What seems compelling is the consistent expansion, likely driven by strategic investments in digital infrastructure and a generally tech-forward mindset in many of those nations.
So government and business pushing digital.
Seems like it. Mobile banking is really taking firm root, redefining financial access and convenience right across the region.
Okay, and finally, let's look at Africa.
Right? Africa.
This market is also on a strong upward path, growing from around $18 million in 2021.
A very small bear.
Very small start, yes.
But projected to hit $108 million by 2033. That matches the overall global CAGR over 15%.
That's right, growing strongly. South Africa and Nigeria seem to be leading the way there.
South Africa and Nigeria. Absolutely. Both countries showing really robust growth. And this really highlights mobile banking's critical role as an enabler.
How so?
Well, in many parts of Africa where maybe traditional banking infrastructure physical branches are limited,
Right.
mobile phones are directly providing financial services to people who were previously completely underserved or unbanked.
So it's financial inclusion in action.
It's a powerful example, yeah. How smartphone penetration plus fintech innovation can directly drive financial inclusion and, economic participation.
Incredible. Okay, so we've gone continent by continent. If we bring it all back together, what are the absolute core drivers behind all this explosive growth we're seeing everywhere?
Well, boiling it down, based on the cognitive market research analysis, it really comes down to three main things.
Okay.
Three core drivers.
First, the absolute explosion of smartphone penetration globally. Just more people than ever have these powerful little computers in their pockets.
Can't argue with that. They're everywhere. Second, there's just a rising tide of digital adoption across all age groups, all demographics. People are just getting more comfortable, more reliant on digital interactions for everything.
Banking included.
Banking definitely included. And third, rapid fintech innovation.
The fintechs.
Yeah, think about the rise of mobile-only banks, neobanks. Think about easy peer-to-peer payment apps like Venmo or Cash App or local equivalents,
Yeah.
or instant digital lending platforms that completely bypass old infrastructure.
Right. New players, new ways of doing things.
Exactly. These three forces together, smartphones, digital comfort, and fintech innovation, they're creating this really powerful tailwind for the whole mobile banking transformation.
It really is incredible too. Mobile banking isn't just like growing incrementally. It feels like it's fundamentally accelerating everywhere, on every continent,
It is.
and playing such a vital role, as you've laid out, in democratizing access to financial services for millions, maybe billions worldwide. It's clearly about more than just convenience.
Oh, much more.
It's about empowerment, financial inclusion, and just a fundamental shift in how we all manage our money.
Absolutely. Which leads to a really interesting question, I think, for you listening.
Okay.
Given this exponential growth, this undeniable pace of innovation we've just walked through, what new, maybe even unexpected financial services or even societal shifts do you anticipate emerging from this mobile banking revolution? And maybe think about how it might really reshape our entire relationship with money in the decades still to come.
Welcome, curious listeners, to the deep dive.
Hmm.
So, have you ever stopped to think about how you manage your money? I mean, chances are a lot of it happens right here in the palm of your hand.
It's amazing, isn't it? What used to mean a trip, lining up at a bank branch.
Exactly. Now it's just a few taps on a screen for so many of us.
Yeah.
So today we're doing a deep dive into the mobile banking market. Our mission, really, is to unpack it for you. We want to get into the core forces shaping this whole dynamic space.
Like, what's driving the incredible growth we're seeing?
Right. And also what hurdles are still out there, because it's not all smooth sailing.
No, definitely not.
And then looking ahead, what are some of the maybe surprising innovations coming down the line?
Mhm.
And look, we're grounding this discussion in solid research from cognitive market research, so these aren't just guesses. It's based on some really robust insights.
Good stuff.
So yeah, how do we get from tellers and vaults to just apps? And where does it go next?
Well, it's fascinating. The speed of change is just, well,
Yeah, it really is. So where do we start? What do you see as the main things, the primary forces fueling this massive shift?
okay, well, if we kind of zoom out, I think you see two big things converging. First off, just the sheer global explosion of smartphones.
Right. Everyone seems to have one now, or at least access is way up.
Exactly. They're cheaper, they're more accessible. Literally billions more people have them compared to, say, a decade ago. And this isn't just about convenience for people like us who maybe had bank accounts already.
You mean for financial inclusion?
Precisely. Think about emerging economies. For millions, maybe billions, that phone is their first real connection to the financial system. It lets them leapfrog the whole need for physical banks.
Yeah. So it's giving access to basic banking transfers, payments to people who were completely outside the system before.
Totally. It's revolutionary in that sense.
Yeah.
Game-changing access.
Okay, that's huge. And then what's the second big force you mentioned? Is it more about us, the existing customers?
Yeah, I think so. It's the demand side. Our expectations have changed, haven't they?
Oh, absolutely. We expect everything instantly now.
Right. We use all these other apps, shopping, social media, whatever, and they're slick, they're instant, they just work. So why should banking be any different?
Good point. We want to transfer money, pay that bill, check our balance.
Like right now, securely, easily, wherever we are, no friction.
And that expectation puts massive pressure on the banks.
Huge pressure. They've had to pour money into improving the user experience, building real-time payment networks, offering 24/7 access. They really had no choice.
Especially during the pandemic, I imagine, when going to a branch was difficult or impossible.
Oh, the pandemic just threw gasoline on the fire. It massively accelerated that shift. Banks had to scramble, really, to upgrade their mobile offerings and become mobile first almost overnight in some cases.
So it's like this feedback loop.
Mm-hmm.
More phones mean more users expecting digital,
Which pushes banks to deliver better mobile services.
which then makes mobile banking even more attractive.
Okay. And underneath all this, you've got the technology itself. We hear these buzzwords, AI, blockchain, cloud. How are they actually, making this happen?
Yeah, they're not just buzzwords, they're fundamental. Take AI, artificial intelligence. It's doing more than just powering chatbots, though it does that too.
Like what?
Well, it's analyzing your spending, maybe giving you predictive advice like, hey, you might be overspending on subscriptions this month, or helping you create smarter budgets automatically.
Okay, so personalized financial help.
Exactly. And crucially, spotting potential fraud almost instantly by learning your patterns.
Hmm.
Blockchain, well, it's still developing in this space, but the promise is there for super secure, transparent transactions.
Right, the security angle.
And cloud computing. That's basically the backbone. It lets banks scale everything up globally. It provides the robust, reliable infrastructure needed to handle, billions of transactions securely and quickly, delivering that service right to your phone. Okay, that makes sense. They're like the invisible engines driving the whole thing.
Pretty much, yeah.
But like we said, it's not all perfectly smooth. Every big change has its challenges, its speed bumps. So what's holding things back? Why isn't everyone using mobile banking for everything yet?
Yeah, good question. And the research points pretty clearly to the biggest one, fear. Specifically, the fear of fraud and data breaches.
Security again.
Yeah.
That makes sense. It's your money, after all.
It's your money, your identity, a lot of sensitive data all tied up in that little device. And let's be honest, the threat is real. Cyber attacks are constantly evolving, especially targeting finance.
And a single breach can be devastating, right? For both the bank and the customer.
Absolutely. It shatters consumer trust, which is incredibly hard to win back. Plus, there are direct financial losses, and this fear isn't unfounded.
You mean the defenses aren't always strong enough?
Well, the infrastructure varies a lot globally. Some regions just don't have the same level of robust cybersecurity. And even where they do, staying ahead of the attackers means constant, expensive investment in the latest security tech.
Which costs banks a lot of money.
A lot of money. So yeah, all this means some people and even some organizations are still hesitant. They stick to what they know, what feels safer, even if it's less convenient.
It's that classic trade-off, isn't it? Convenience versus security. So how do banks even begin to build that trust, especially when the risks seem to be changing all the time? What should you, as a user, look for?
It's a constant battle, building and maintaining trust. It's not a one-time thing. Banks are pushing hard on what's called multi-layered security. So for you, the listener, look for banks using things beyond just a password.
Like fingerprints or Face ID?
Biometrics.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Biometrics are a big one, much harder to fake than a password. Also, banks are getting much better at real-time fraud detection. Systems that can flag a weird transaction instantly, maybe send you an alert.
And increasingly something called behavioral analytics.
Behavioral analytics.
this is
Interesting. What is that exactly in banking?
It's pretty cool, actually. It's basically the system learning how you normally use your banking app.
My specific habits.
Yeah, like what time do you usually log in? What devices do you use? How fast do you type your password? Where are you geographically? Even how you swipe or scroll.
Wow.
And if it suddenly sees activity that doesn't match your typical pattern, say a login from a strange device overseas at 3 a.m. trying to make a huge transfer, it can flag that as suspicious, even if the password was correct.
So it's like a digital fingerprint of your behavior?
Kind of, yeah. It adds this really sophisticated, personalized layer of security. It's like having a digital guard who recognizes you not just by your key, but by the way you walk and talk.
That's a clever use of AI, making security smarter, not just, more annoying with extra steps.
Exactly. It's about being effective without adding unnecessary friction.
Okay, fascinating. So we've covered the drivers, the roadblocks. Let's shift gears now and look forward. What's on the horizon? What are the really big trends shaping mobile banking for, say, 2025 and beyond?
Right, the future stuff. I see probably 3 key trends really starting to merge and accelerate. The first one is the rise of embedded finance.
Embedded finance. Okay, what does that mean in practice?
It means banking services are moving out of just the dedicated banking app and embedding themselves directly into other platforms and apps you use every day.
Like, give me an example.
Okay, imagine you're shopping online. Instead of going to your bank app to check your balance or apply for credit, maybe the option to get a small loan or pay in installments is just right there, seamlessly integrated into the checkout process.
Okay. Or maybe splitting a dinner bill right inside your messaging app.
Precisely. Or getting paid, managing payroll within your company's HR software. The idea is that banking functionalities pop up right where and when you need them without you having to switch apps or context.
So banking becomes kind of invisible. part of the furniture and other apps? Is that the whole super app idea we hear about sometimes?
That's a big part of it, yeah. It's redefining convenience, making financial transactions feel less like a separate task and more like a natural part of whatever else you're doing.
Okay, that sounds powerful. What's the second big trend?
That would be AI-powered personalization, but taking it, to the next level. We touched on AI for security and basic advice,
Right.
but think more advanced. Machine learning algorithms that truly understand your financial situation, your goals, your habits, and offer genuinely predictive, tailored advice.
Like a personal financial advisor in your pocket.
Sort of, yeah. Custom budgeting tools that adapt automatically, smart chatbots that can handle really complex questions, proactive suggestions for saving or investing. It's about making your financial life easier and helping you make better decisions.
Which is good for the user, obviously, but I
Yeah.
guess it's good for the banks too. Helps them keep customers happy.
Definitely. It builds loyalty, improves customer satisfaction, and lets banks refine their products and services based on real, deep understanding of customer needs.
Okay, so embedded finance, super personalization. What's the third trend? Is it security again?
It has to be, right? As finance gets more embedded and data gets more personalized, the security needs to evolve just as fast. So that multi-layered approach we talked about, that becomes absolutely standard, non-negotiable.
More sophisticated biometrics.
Yes, things like advanced biometrics, maybe voice recognition, gait analysis down the line. Also, even faster, smarter, real-time fraud detection using AI to spot those anomalies in milliseconds. And as we discussed, behavioral analytics becoming much more widespread.
It's all about building that trust so people feel comfortable with their finances being woven into everything else.
Exactly. These security innovations are essential to making the whole vision of seamless, embedded, personalized finance actually work in practice and feel safe for you, the user.
So it really sounds like these three things, embedded finance, the AI personalization, and this next-gen security, they're just separate features. They're kind of converging.
That's the key point, I think. They work together. They feed off each other. You can't have truly seamless embedded finance without rock-solid, almost invisible security. You can't have truly effective personalization without the AI and the data protected by that security.
It's creating a whole new kind of financial ecosystem. More integrated, more intelligent.
And hopefully more secure. It's like banking is finally catching up with the rest of our digital lives, transforming it from something you do into something that just is, supporting you in the background.
That's a really neat way to put it. But, we can't talk about the trajectory of mobile banking without mentioning one huge catalyst, can we? The elephant in the room for the last few years.
You mean COVID-19?
Yeah. Feels like that changed everything, or at least sped everything up dramatically.
Oh, massively. It was like a global, unplanned experiment in digital living, with branches closed or access limited, and people wanting contactless options for everything.
Digital banking, especially mobile, just exploded, didn't
It
it?
absolutely surged. Financial institutions had to react incredibly fast. We saw years' worth of digital transformation plans get condensed into months, upgrading apps, boosting server capacity, rolling out new features, strengthening cybersecurity. It was frantic.
But did everyone benefit equally from that push?
That's a crucial point. No. The crisis also really starkly highlighted the digital divide.
How so?
Well, in many areas, particularly underserved communities, people lacked reliable internet access or the right devices, or even just the digital literacy skills needed to switch comfortably to mobile banking. So while some of us found it more convenient, others were potentially left further behind.
That's important context. It wasn't a seamless transition for everyone.
Not at all. But overall, the sheer necessity, combined with some regulatory flexibility during that period, definitely helped redefine consumer habits for the long term. Mobile banking went from being a nice-to-have for many to an absolute essential. It really anchored its role.
So the pandemic acted like a stress test.
That's a great way to think about it. It stress-tested the entire financial system. It revealed incredible resilience in some areas, like the ability to scale digital services quickly.
But also vulnerabilities.
Absolutely, like the digital divide we just mentioned, and ongoing security challenges. But the end result was definitely pushing mobile banking into the absolutely foundational role it plays today. It's not niche anymore. It is banking for a huge chunk of the population.
Okay, so wrapping things up then. It's clear the mobile banking market is, well, moving incredibly fast, being shaped by this powerful mix of tech innovation, the AI, the cloud, plus what we, the users, demand.
That seamless, instant experience.
Right. And then the banks strategically responding to all that, juggling the opportunities with the very real risks, especially around security.
Yeah.
And that cognitive market research data really hammers it home. Mobile banking isn't just an add-on anymore. It's becoming the bedrock for how we experience finance, modern, increasingly intelligent, and hopefully fundamentally secure.
That sums it up well.
So here's a final thought maybe for you, our listener, to chew on. As these financial services become more and more invisible, like you said, embedded seamlessly into apps we use every day, personalized by AI, how might that fundamentally change our actual relationship with money?
That's a deep question.
We'll think less about the transactions themselves, the nuts and bolts, and more about the outcomes, the experiences that money enables. Does it become less tangible? Maybe. More abstract?
Or maybe just less stressful, hopefully.
Maybe. It's definitely something worth pondering as this evolution continues. How does it change how you think about your finances?
Definitely food for thought.
Well, we encourage you to keep exploring these ideas. Thanks for diving deep with us today.